Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Full Circle. Lexie, how are you doing?
Girl, I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Let's just get right into it because y'all, me and Lexie are in our trying to get straight to the point era. So obviously there's been drama on and off the court already this WNBA season, but today we're keeping it cute and focused on the actual basketball being played on the court. The games have been good, and I have a lot of people asking for some of the storylines around the league, so I'll get to those and let Lexie give her expert analysis and BTS as always. Lexie, as someone who just came off the court last night, how does it feel being back, and what is the energy around the league?
Well, first, I'll address the elephant in the room that I did not actually get on the court last night. And you know what? It'd be like that sometimes. This is a veteran team I'm on. I got added to the mix a little bit late when I got traded, and I can only show up and do my job, which is what I've been doing every day. So we gonna get that out the way, acknowledge it. And guys, I'm healthy. I feel amazing. I'm in high spirits, and I'm really still excited about being a part of the Seattle Storm team. So yeah, I just wanted to get that out the way. As far as the energy of this season, it's been insane. 2 road games to start the year, 2 pretty much sold out crowds in Phoenix and in Dallas. So the atmospheres have been great. Playing on a team's home opening night is always tough. It's a lot of energy. It's a lot of jitters. Their warm up and announcement and player intros took 30 minutes. So, they got all hyped up about that. And then we're just sitting there watching like, dang, when the game going to start? So
30 minutes. I don't even feel like
forever.
the Liberty ring ceremony
long.
took that long.
No, it was so long, but shout out to Phoenix because their player intros were fire. They did a really good job, but that was a rough game for us, but we bounced back, got the win in Dallas, which we'll talk about later. But from watching on TV and being in the arenas, like this season is already turned up, like first weekend. And I'm like, oh yeah, this season about to be special for sure.
Definitely. I want to get into kind of team by team, not necessarily team, but like category of team by team.
Yeah.
Because there were some teams that performed the way that we expected, some teams that performed better than expected, all the things.
Yeah.
Okay, first let's get into the teams that did what they were supposed to do. Let's start with the Minnesota Lynx. So you got Napheesa Collier, who had an MVP level start. I mean, she led the league with 57 combined points, which we'll get into their little trio that they have going on because they had a lot of leaders on their team this week. But I want to know, Lexie, in your opinion, what makes her so good and what sets her game apart?
Yeah, the thing about Fee is every year she adds something to her game. And for someone that is so talented, the fact that every year they can add something more is always so impressive. She was a rookie. My second year, she got drafted to the Lynx. So I was able to play with her rookie season and immediately knew that she was going to be special. She's super high IQ. As we saw during Unrivaled, her one-on-one skill is unmatched. She's probably one of the best two-way players in our league. Won Defensive Player of the Year last year, is in the conversation for MVP already. Came in second place, I think, last year or third behind Asia Wilson. So just watching her steady improvement season to season is something that I've always respected and loved about her game. And she's in Minnesota. And if anybody knows anything about the Lynx, like that's championship central for the WNBA. So they know how to build championship teams. And they decided to make Fee the cornerstone of that. And we're finally seeing that come to fruition. Y'all know how we feel about last year's finals. So they coming back with a vengeance, and they looked really good in their first 2 games.
Yeah, you mentioned her teammates and the Lynx knowing how to build a championship roster and keep them because obviously they kept their team together this year. But Jessica Shepard returning added some depth that they didn't have last year. She led with 18 rebounds, and then Courtney Williams led with 19 assists. So we can expect to see this trio leading in these categories a lot this season. Lexie, as a team, what is so hard about guarding a team that's this deep and shares the ball like that?
Yeah, I mean, we watched them a little bit in our film sessions when we were scouting for Dallas, and we were able to watch their offense move and the pace at which they play. And I talked about this when we went through our preseason stuff. They were not too high in actual pace because they take a lot of the shot clock to score. But the way that they cut to the ball, away from the ball, the way they run to set screens, the way they run to use screens, how they get to the next action, is something that is very hard to defend. And this is like leading right into like my conversation that I've been having with the positionless basketball finally making it to the WNBA. And if you guys don't understand what positionless basketball means, it just means not confining a player to their standard position. So like if you are a 6'6" player, you're typically just going to be labeled a center. But now you can step out and play the three, the wing. We got point forwards, power forwards, shooting guards, scoring point guards. Like there's not really just 5 positions on the court anymore. And I think the Lynx are one of the teams that are utilizing that really well right now. You have the 4 players not only just bringing the ball up, they're initiating offense. Like that's something that we haven't seen in our league yet. And I think it's really, really impressive. And I want to shout out Courtney Williams too, because in college and her first few years in the season, like she was a bucket getter, and she still very much is a bucket getter, but her transition from just worrying about buckets to now assisting the ball as well and how as efficiently as she's doing it is something that people are not really talking about that much because she makes it look so easy and she's made the transition so seamlessly. So I want to give a shout out to Courtney Williams because the way that she took that role that she probably didn't want at first because she's like, I'm a bucket getter, but the way that she's made it her own and still is able to get buckets and distribute the ball. The Lynx are a dangerous team, and they don't even have Kayla McBride yet. And she hasn't even played yet.
I want to know how difficult this is. I was going to get into this later in the episode, but what you just said made me think of it. Being able to move the ball like that and taking up the shot clock in the WNBA is so hard because it is so physical. I know a lot of people who are new to watching are shocked by the physicality, but watching, I mean, the refs really let y'all play, to be honest.
Yep.
And y'all play defense. Lexie talks about it all the time. So being able to move the ball like that in the WNBA, it's not no walk in the park because they're for real trying to stop you.
No, and there's a beauty in being able to execute. And some people might think it's boring or, they like to see fast offense. But yeah, there's a time and place for that. And I think that at the end of the day, the teams that know how to execute down the stretch are the most successful. And it's just so heartbreaking when you have a really good defensive possession and it gets to like the last 3 seconds and like they've just run an action. You're like, damn it. And then they score. Like that's like more demoralizing than someone dribbling down and throwing up like a random 3 in transition. Like you're like, damn, okay, she got that one. But when they like out execute your defensive scheme, that shit is so frustrating to the team, to the bench, to the coaching staff. It's like, damn, we did everything right. And they still out-executed our plan. So I think that's something that sets the Lynx apart. It sets the Liberty apart. Vegas, when they're at their best, I think we can get to that point as well. But there's a lot of teams, with a lot of change going on. And I think at some point, it gets to like the out execution. We're seeing that in the NBA playoffs. It turns into a chess match, but our entire season is a chess match. Like we don't just wait till the playoffs to turn games into chess matches. So that's something that I've always really appreciated about the women's game.
Yeah, the urgency is obvious throughout the whole league. I mean, I watched y'all's game last night, you know that. And like even like the way that Skylar was playing, I'm like the urgency. Y'all not playing with them, but
no.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that a little later. You mentioned the Liberty. Okay, let's talk about this because I was actually at the Liberty's home opener, and
What outfit did you wear?
Okay, so I was gonna wear. I can tell y'all this on Full Circle. This is like I didn't talk about this on TikTok, but I was gonna wear the Liberty jersey that everyone in the comments told me to wear, but I actually was on the trip with a brand. Y'all are all gonna see. I was there with Nike, but and they told me that there was like issues and I couldn't wear the jersey. So I wore
the jerseys or just
a jersey period.
The Liberty jersey. Oh, okay.
So I wore the same outfit that I was gonna wear with the jersey, just with a black tank top. But it was I was very sad about it. So, but at least you guys got to see the outfit.
Yeah.
But
my vote was for the Liberty jersey.
I mean, people got offended in the comments. They're like, don't try to play villain. Like, it's their ring ceremony. I was like, I wasn't trying to play villain, bruh.
Villain is crazy. I just want to look cute at the game. Goddamn.
I just like the jersey. Like I liked how the Asia jersey had the little like V-neck. I thought that was cute, but I'll save it for another time.
It is not that deep, people. It is not that deep.
But I do want to say that men's, women's draw, whatever, was one of the most like positive and fun basketball environments I've ever been in my life. When I say it was so loud, their fans do not play about the Liberty at all. And this isn't a new thing for them either. Not an empty seat in the house. Nobody is like trying to be cute and like quiet. Like everybody's yelling, everybody's excited. I mean, granted, it was their ring night, so spirits were very high. But that environment was insane. And you would think with a powerhouse, like celebrity-wise, like Asia, when like Steph Curry goes to a game, it's like half the people are there to see Steph and then half the people are there to see the actual team. Oh, no. This was Liberty. Like, thank God I was told not to wear that.
No, WNBA fans are they're very loyal to the home team.
Oh, loyal.
Except for the LA fans. But everywhere else, very loyal. But yeah, LA, they were fans very finicky out there.
But that's
everywhere
for
else I've been, yeah. LA sports fans are just so like la 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 la.
Atlanta sports fans can be like that too.
Yeah,
because it's like,
but
girl, I'm
the
just here to
dream
get
games be turned up.
I'm going.
Dream games be turned up.
I'm going on Thursday.
Okay, period. Yes. Who do they play?
The Fever.
Yeah, that's gonna be turned up. Is that the big arena?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that shit gonna be lit.
I'm so excited.
In Atlanta?
Yeah. And then I'm working on going to, I need to get my tickets, but going on Saturday when they play the Wings too. So, and that'll be at,
make sure y'all, if y'all are in a WNBA city, make sure y'all pull up to a game. Like, they're really fun.
They're so fun.
And every time I invite a new person to go to a game, they always have a great time.
They're so fun. Their energy is unlike anything else. And the Liberty game, would I say Ellie the Elephant did a 13-minute halftime performance to Nicki Minaj? Pink wig and everything.
I need to find out who is inside of that mascot outfit.
All of the creators were debating if we think that it's actually a girl or if it's a gay man. And I think that it's a gay man because it's giving like cheerleader.
You know what I feel? I feel like it's just not one person in there.
Oh.
I feel like there's like a Ellie the Elephant group.
And
they rotate. Because she be on the move too much. There's no way one person can do all of this.
I mean, y'all do. The players do.
Yeah, but no, we don't. I couldn't do what Ellie Elephant does. I'm sorry.
She's an influencer, a dancer, one of the cheerleaders. But anyways, besides Ellie, let's talk about how they absolutely dominated the Aces in their season opener again. The atmosphere was incredible, but the champs were doing champ things. I do want to note that their championship rings, Lexie, first WNBA championship rings, or I guess championship rings ever, that open up and become earrings.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
They were designed by Black sisters from Brooklyn too, which I thought was really dope.
That's fire. That's amazing. Yeah, I saw it on TikTok. The Jason of Beverly Hills TikTok. I said, oh, wow. I looked at my championship ring and said, oh.
I looked at my championship ring, flex, low-key, inside.
I said, oh.
Not Lexie flexing on us.
That. Those rings were gorgeous. And something about like that sea foam color, like it just makes everything just seem so like elite. I don't know. That's like such a cute, different color that you don't ever really see anywhere really.
And it was all
it's
up
like
and
Tiffany,
through the arena. It was beautiful. But on the court, I want to talk about Natasha Cloud because she really stuck out to me. My manager actually called her, what'd she call her? Like a pit bull or like that kind of energy. You know what I mean? Like, you could tell that she really has a chip on her shoulder she was upset that she wasn't on the ballot for Defensive Player of the Year last year. And she obviously was upset by her trade situation. But to be in New York with that fan base that was totally behind her and to have a little bit of her hand on everything on both sides of the floor she definitely made an impact in her first game.
I think the thing about Tosh that is very underrated is her adaptability to different situations. I've never seen her on a team where she doesn't immediately become the vocal leader, the presence, and the commander in chief of that team. And she doesn't do it in like a stop, this my shit now. Like I'm here, I'm taking it. It's like she plays a certain way and she demands a certain type of energy from everybody around her. And everyone just like gravitates towards her. So I feel like she like took the Liberty, who are always already an excellent team, and brought them up to a whole new level. You know, Tasha's gonna be a Hall of Famer. I'm pretty sure she will be. She's a WNBA champion. I got to play with her in Athletes Unlimited. I love being on the court with her. So this whole moment, this season for her, I think is so special because she deserves it and she earns it. And I can't remember what year it was, but when she played the Liberty in the playoffs and almost willed her team to beating the Liberty by herself, she gained the respect from that organization. So for her to now be a part of that organization, I know that has given her like a whole extra ounce of energy that she didn't even really need. But Natasha Cloud with a battery in her back is a terrifying, scary Natasha Cloud. But I'm so happy for her that she's in that situation. And she played well and she fit right in.
100%.
And I think that's something that everybody obviously had questions about. Is like, how is she going to fit in with this group that's already won a championship? Very easily, clearly. So shout out to the Liberty. I mean, Stewie had a great game.
Yeah, Stewie
JJ
dropped
had a great
25
game.
on 10 of 14 shooting.
All three of them, I think two of them had almost double-doubles, and then someone actually had a double-double. So I don't know what the stat is on that when the last time 3 players on a team had double-doubles. But if that's the type of energy the Liberty are playing with, then everyone else needs to tighten up and get ready to rebound and get ready to defend, because that's also something that we talked about with the Liberty was, you know, defensively, they kind of were like, we're just going to outscore you. But now they have that edge on defense now. So this is a dangerous team as well. But we knew that already.
And it was a lot of, obviously, I believe it was Stewie. Was it Stewie or Sabrina that came out and said that they would consider their rivals to be the Aces? Somebody said that today.
But that's about right.
Yeah, somebody said that today. Right. They were asked, who do you think your rivals are in the league? And they said the Aces. It was either Stewie or Sabrina. But my point in saying that.
I'm like, great. Because Minnesota over there like, dang, what about...
They're like, yeah, anyways.
Thank you for that. More energy for the Lynx. Great.
Obviously, people take, I don't know if it's because y'all are women or whatever it is, but take that sort of fire between two teams as almost like, oh, they don't like each other. But being there, it just felt, it was so competitive. It was like on the court. It was something that we criticize the men's side a little bit for now. Like, oh, okay, we don't want to see y'all on podcasts and kumbaya and everything when you're on the court. Like, y'all can do that later. And it was so funny because it was like, as soon as the game tipped off, it was like, I'm ready to rip your head off. Like, the physicality is insane. I've never watched that close besides like the All-Star game, and you don't get to see the true physicality in an All-Star game, but I was sitting right behind the Aces bench, and to just see the way like it gets so physical, the way that they're talking to each other. I don't think Tosh stopped chirping at the Aces from the time the game began to when the fat lady sang at the end. Like the entire time.
That sounds about right. But it's crazy
amazing.
Because people are being super critical about the physicality and the super competitiveness of our game. But like being a part of this league for 8 years, like there's so much love and respect between players inside those lines. And I think that's why we're able to compete and be physical at such a high level, because there is that respect level. Like, I have to give you my best or you gonna whoop my ass, right? And vice versa. So I think that's something that's so special that needs to be celebrated more, and it doesn't need to result in multiple think pieces or, oh, she doesn't like this one, she doesn't like that one. Like, no, not everybody is besties, but this is a competition at the end of the day. Like, everyone's trying to win at the end of the day. So like I said, the energy from this season, and I think I need people to be reminded that almost the entire league are free agents next year. So almost everybody playing for a new contract.
That's a great point.
Like, so this season is something different.
You're not only trying to rip the head off of your opponent, but you're also low-key trying to impress their front office.
Your front office, their front office,
right?
The team over there's front office. Like, I will say, I am not one of those players. I am under a contract for next year. So that doesn't apply to me. That doesn't mean I'm going to play any less harder than everybody else.
Right.
But that's like the reality of the situation. Is like,
you got to say that, because otherwise all the comments going to be like, oh, Lexie just trying to.
Yeah, like I want to have I want to see that new money too, but I won't be able to see it until after next year.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Well, let's move on to the game. As far as people watching, I believe it was the most watched WNBA game on ESPN platforms ever, which is crazy. There was like 2.2 million people watching it.
Shout out to that game though. That's an amazing viewership number. So let's keep that in mind too. As far as the positive things from.
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously we've already discussed that. I mean, but that is incredible. And I mean, they play each other 4 more times, so I'm sure the next one will beat it. But anyways,
it absolutely will.
Yeah, I'm sure the next one will beat it. But the Indiana Fever played the Chicago Sky in their season opener. Caitlin Clark had a triple-double, 20, 10, and 10. Lexie, I'm curious, we talked a little bit about this in our season preview video, or episode. Will Caitlin Clark lead the league in assists again?
I think so. And I think the next person that could probably catch her or be close is surprisingly Alyssa Thomas. Not surprisingly, she was 3rd last year, but her being on a new team and getting used to new teammates might make that number be a little bit lower, or it can be a lot higher. I think if we're talking about who can lead the league in assists, it's Caitlin Clark is at the top of that list.
For sure.
For sure. Her vision, I didn't think it could get any better from last season. And now she has players that are like excellent cutters, movers, are always in the right spot. She even said it, I think they said it on the telecast, like she'll be playing with Natasha Howard, and then all of a sudden she's going to look up and she's like, dang, when did she get 14 points? When did she get 15 points? And that's how Natasha Howard has always played. Like, she's like a silent assassin. So she can definitely lead the league in assists. She probably can even average more assists this year than last year, which would be incredible. But it's definitely possible with this team.
I want to talk about their defense. Well, I have a question for you, because you know better than I do, looking like based on the eye test. Their defense held Chicago to 29% shooting, right? Me watching, I felt like the Chicago Sky's offense really didn't look great at any point, but I don't know if that's due to the Indiana Fever and they have players now that are all impacting both ends of the floor, or if this is more of an issue with the Chicago Sky. Obviously, they're adjusting to a new coaching staff and everything, but if that's more of an issue with something that the Chicago Sky need to address going forward.
I think that Indiana added more defensive pieces to their team. Team defense is key. You know, you can have really good individual one-on-one defenders, but if your team isn't synchronized as far as playing team defense, then it doesn't matter how good of your individual defenders are. With Chicago, I mean, it's just one game. I don't think anybody needs to overreact. This is a completely new roster, new coaching staff. And again, home openers on the road are so hard to play in. And I can't even, like, the environment in an Indiana Fever home opener, like, it's probably, it was insane. We saw it. So I don't even want to say anything about the Chicago offense or anything like that, because it's one game.
Right. And a relatively young team.
Yeah. And it's just like a lot of new pieces. I mean, let's bring our game up. We lost by 32 in our first game. And then the next game, it was like a completely different team emerged. So it just sometimes happens that way. You got to get the kinks out. You don't really know how everyone is going to respond or react, and like when the lights are on. Not saying that anybody responded in a bad way, but it's like just a different energy. It's a different environment. The stakes are high now. So I wouldn't overreact to the Chicago offensive woes. We had a very similar issue in our first game of the year and came back and bounced back just fine. So I think it's more of a credit to the Indiana Fever and the team that they put together, because they put together a contending team, and I think everybody saw that. But again, first game of the year, so it's just like you can think what you want, feel what you want, but nothing to really even formulate a true opinion on because it's so early in the year.
I mean, like you said perfectly, the Indiana Fever are a championship contender now with 2 back-to-back number 1 picks, which I want to get into Aaliyah Boston's impact in a second. But I just feel like going into a newly championship contending rosters arena on opening night, especially with a player like Caitlin Clark with the celebrity that she has and all of the buzz surrounding her, it would be hard for any team, especially a team that's in more of a rebuilding sort of mode with the new coaching staff and trying out new things. Like we talked about this in our preseason video, like talking about what to look forward to for every single team. So they're just adjusting. Like Lexie said, let's not overreact. I do want to ask, because obviously Caitlin is that girl and triple-double, probably will lead the league in assists, as you said. But Aaliyah Boston, they had a number 1 pick the year before Caitlin, if y'all don't know already.
Which is crazy.
Aaliyah Boston. Yeah. I want, if you could explain to our audience, what is Aaliyah Boston's impact on the Indiana Fever?
I think she just brings just an energy in the paint. But she's not super paint dominant anymore. We saw her picking and popping. We saw her hitting threes. She's catching those passes that she was getting used to from last season. Her growth from last year to this year already has been super impressive. And she looks like she's having like a lot of fun out there. And I think that's also really important. They brought some veterans in to probably take a little bit of that load off of her leadership wise, because she is absolutely a leader of that team. But when you bring in veterans like DeWanna Bonner and Natasha Howard and Sophie Cunningham, who know what it's like to be on winning teams and make deep playoff runs, I think it makes Aaliyah's job a lot easier. This team is like following the trajectory of the Vegas team that was able to get a few number 1 picks back to back, add some pieces in free agency, and then decide to whoop up on the entire league for a few years. So
while being fun and silly for everybody to watch.
While being fun and silly, exactly. And it just seems like that might be the formula. I think you can buy super teams, you can buy talented teams, but sometimes they can, in fact, be built. And I think that's what the Aces showed us. The Fever are showing this right now. And then also we have to shout out DeWanna Bonner. Now that we've mentioned her, on becoming 3rd all-time leading scorer in WNBA history, which is amazing. Just 3rd behind Tina Charles and Diana Taurasi. So we want to give DB her flowers, because that is not an easy feat. That's a lot of buckets. That's a lot of points. And she's a 2-time champion, 6-time All-Star, 3-time sixth woman, multiple All-WNBAs, and almost at 7,500 career points. So shout out to DeWanna Bonner, because that's something that shouldn't be glazed over at all. That's such an amazing achievement. And the way the Fever went out of their way to make sure she got that number on opening night, like, that's, people are like, oh, they were stat chasing that. No, that's a team.
Having a player like that on your roster, that impact goes far beyond the stat sheet. And to have that for your 2 number 1 picks back to back, you mentioned Aaliyah taking on that role of a leader that could have been a little harder for her last year. I mean, anybody going from being the leader in college and being like top dog to coming into the W where it's already new for you and you're number 1 pick and you're the rookie, but you're also expected to lead. I remember Aaliyah talking about last year, she had to get off social media and she had to refocus. And so to see her smiling and laughing, even about something as funny as like getting that tech in the post game, like, is so incredible. So to see her shining and to see like this team chemistry, I feel like is going to be really fun all season long.
Yeah. Yeah. It's starting early, but again, long season. But the Fever look good. They look good and dangerous.
Let's talk about some early overachievers because I already know that people are going to come for us. As the season goes, like Lexie said, it's still early, so let's not overreact to the first couple games, but we got to give credit where credit is due. The Washington
Always.
Mystics, they were projected to be at the bottom of the league and are starting off undefeated 2-0 at the time of us filming this on Tuesday. Brittany Sykes is in her bag, combined 42 points and 12 assists. And shout out Kiki Iriafin and Sonia starting and producing. That's 2 rookies on their starting lineup that are not only just starting in the WNBA for the first time ever, which is crazy.
They are
but producing.
Yeah. I want to shout out to a lot of the rookies in this league right now because a lot of them are coming into these teams and playing very important parts in their teams, winning their team's offenses, their defenses. So I want to shout out to this rookie class because they're doing their thing. And yeah, Sonia and Kiki, the way they've come out, like we said, like they came out, like sometimes the best way to start a season is like with no expectations. And you get to play more free and lean on each other. And we said that the veterans are going to have to step up and show what they can do. And I'm not surprised Brittany Sykes came out hooping like she's been hooping. She's been a hooper since I've known her. And I've known her for a long time. So I'm not surprised by Sykes coming out playing the way she's playing. I think Sonia was one of the most underrated players in college basketball the last few seasons. She's so smart. She's so efficient. She's deceivingly athletic as hell. And then Kiki, I think, you know, sometimes you play in college and sometimes your game is like pro ready and you can't really see that in the college atmosphere. You know, the spacing's different. You know, you have a lot more stars. Like she's playing next to Juju Watkins.
I was going to mention that.
And then every time Juju, you know, was having an off game or after even she got injured, Kiki, you know, picked up all that slack. So she showed glimpses of her ability to score the ball and rebound the ball throughout her college career. So yes, they are overachieving for sure, but we always say everybody's in this league for a reason. Those are 2 first-round picks. So I'm not completely surprised at, you know, their start. But let's see if they can keep it going. But now, you know, you get these first 2 games are kind of like a fake thing because no one has your offense. No one knows your defenses. You're like no one has scouted you really yet. So when we get into like the 10, 15 game mark, like that's when everybody's going to have multiple games played. Offensive calls are going to be scouted, and, you know, and that's when teams, you know, start to separate themselves when it becomes the chess match that we was talking about. So, but shout out to the Mystics. Like it's always nice to prove people wrong and that's always fun. So I know that they're having a good time doing that.
For sure. Let's talk about the Los Angeles Sparks. Okay. Kelsey Plum. Now, I do want to mention, when I saw her roll up in that suit, I should have known something was about to go down. But 37 points. Granted, I just want to set the scene for y'all for 1 second because, Lexie, you know I'm dramatic and I love the storyline. This is the Valkyries' first game ever. Like, this was supposed to be very much about that. And that's already history in and of itself, their inaugural game. But for Kelsey Plum to walk in, first game with a new team, put up 37 points in her debut, and it be the most points scored ever in a WNBA opener is insane. So shout out to her.
Yeah. Shout out Kelsey Plum. If y'all watched her in college at all, this version of her is what you're used to seeing. I think that credit to her for stepping into a role to win championships. And sometimes you're like, okay, like that was fun. I won championships. You know, I built my resume. I learned a lot, but now I want to go maybe win some championships over here a different way. So, you know, shout out to her for standing on business, essentially. First game of the year, she coming in saying, this is a new Sparks era starring me, Kelsey Plum.
I love that.
But again, like you saw glimpses of this scoring in Vegas when she had the opportunity. She's someone that likes to have the ball in her hands. She's so She's a really good ball handler. She's a great finisher, and she's lefty. So there's always like something special about them lefties. I wish I was left-handed because the way they play basketball is like a little unorthodox. And it's always like, it just looks sexier to me, left-handed players.
Really?
So yeah, like I always love watching lefties play basketball because it's like, it's just so different. And because usually they're probably being taught by a right-handed person. But yeah, if you ask anybody about like left-handed players, like one of the first things people say is like, oh, it's like always like a little unorthodox looking. But like that's like one of my favorite parts about left-handed players is that it's just different.
I'm always like,
and they're different from the majority.
Is she left-handed? I'm
yeah,
like,
exactly.
And watching anybody do anything
Right.
with their left hand is kind of like, what is going on?
But like, yeah, exactly. So like, even when they do things, like even when I'm like watching Skylar do some stuff left-handed, it still looks, even though that's her dominant hand, it still looks cooler because it's her left hand, even though that's her dominant hand. So like, I'm like, damn, I wish I was left-handed. Maybe everything I would do would look cooler. But the Sparks, you know, they you can tell that Kelsey's going to be the focal point of that team. Just 2 games, 1-1. So that's a great way to start the season, especially stealing one on the road. That's always a positive. So I'm looking forward to seeing if maybe she's going to lead the league in scoring. Like, I think that's something that's very doable for her, but I know that winning is everything to her. So she's going to do everything she can to help that team win. So shout out Kelsey Plum, because 37 in your WNBA debut with a new team is super impressive.
And going from being somewhere that's A'ja Wilson's team, period. So that somebody asked me, I got interviewed before the opener for the Liberty, and they asked me what's another team that I could see A'ja on, and I said that they need to change the name to the A''CES because that's her team.
Yeah, like that. She's that stamped. Like,
yeah.
Why would she go somewhere else?
Right.
But shit, we thought that about LeBron in Cleveland, and we saw what happened there. So
yeah, but that's Cleveland.
But you never know. Different. I don't see. That's her. That's not just her team. That's her city.
Right. But my point in bringing that up is like Kelsey, like you said, fit into a certain role that she needed to win. But it feels like her reminding everybody, it felt like her conditioning, her energy, everything felt different. And it felt like her stepping into this new era being like, this is my shit. You know what I mean? Like,
they call her Plum Dog for a reason.
Right.
Okay.
Something about that makes me like, scared. Like, what? But anyways, let's get into the Dallas Wings because you had an up close and personal look at them. I'm sure you guys were scouting them, as you said, and got to know this team a lot better than any of our listeners probably know. So it's going to be really interesting to hear your perspective. Paige Bueckers, first of all, I do want to say,
game.
Yeah, she had a great game. Listening to the broadcast, though, it's so funny because the whole broadcast is like, Paige, oh my God, Paige passed it. Oh my God, Paige, oh my God, Paige is running to the left. The whole thing, they're watching her the whole time. But that's a number 1 pick. That's a star.
Because she's Auntie's baby. That's why.
I like
quite literally.
That is so
everybody
funny.
Auntie. Everybody is Auntie, and she's Auntie's baby.
For sure.
That's literally what it is.
But I love it.
She had a really good game.
She had a really good game. 19-8. In her second game. She had some growing pains in her first game, but there's a clear upside to her that we got to see against Seattle. Whether or not it ended in a win, she's a rookie, getting out the kinks, learning a new system, getting used to the physicality of the W, especially as a focal point of any offense, as being Paige Bueckers. What did you see from Paige when you played them last night?
Again, rookie. She, doing some rookie things as expected, but she has really good poise for the most part. We had Gabby defending her. Gabby is probably considered one of the better defenders in the league. So to even have that as your matchup, your first season in the league, speaks volumes to what we all think of Paige as a player. I think that she plays basketball the right way. And she's going to be very special in this league. The one thing about Dallas is their chemistry. And I think that's the only thing. They have 3 returners from last season, I want to say.
And a new coach.
An entire new coaching staff. Adding to this chemistry piece, I counted, and if I counted correctly, I counted multiple times, but I might be off by a few. there are almost 100 players that are either new to the W this season or on a new team this season.
In the whole league?
Yes. So that's including players that are signed that weren't on a team last year, rookies, and then people who moved around.
And there's like 150
Over 100,
players.
Almost 100, yes. So if y'all are thinking about how crazy that is as far as building chemistry, almost every team except for the Liberty and the Lynx are feeling that chemistry building piece. So Dallas is one of the teams that is feeling it the most. You have new coaches, new team, number one pick. Like, there's a lot of moving parts there. And in their defense, like they kept it a very respectable game. Like, we got a pretty decent lead and they cut it to single digits multiple times.
They did.
So
they were not going down easy.
Yeah. So like they're 0-2, but like that squad could be super successful this season once they get their chemistry right, once they get the rotations right. But both of their games, I mean, Minnesota and Seattle is not an easy first 2 game start to a season. And they stayed in both of the games with a rookie leading the way. So that's like a really positive sign for them. Yeah, like I said, I was watching just like y'all. So
I do want to mention, you're so stupid. But I will say during the broadcast, they did mention that there is, obviously in that game, Seattle was incredible, but I could see some 3-point shooting from my girl Lexie being utilized. That's all. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not a scout. I'm not an analyst.
And when they need me to be there to do that, I will be ready. You know why? Because I have a facility to go practice in whenever I want.
Amen, right? Sister. Amen. So you gonna be getting buckets up. That Lexie, stay ready. That's what they're gonna be saying about you.
Yeah, I stay ready. You know, Lexie Stay Ready Brown. That really should be my name.
Yeah, but I mean, I will say the team did look good. It was a good win. And I was entertained. It was great. I mean, probably because Dallas was clawing their way trying to get back in the game, but
yeah. I mean, I think for our team, very veteran heavy. NECA, like, we don't win that game without NECA's performance.
23 points and 18 boards.
Like, and some of the rebounds she was grabbing, I was like, how did she go get that? Where did she come from?
She was not playing.
She was not playing around. Like, you do not want to start a season 0-2. And I felt that in our team. Like, we have to get this win. Because even like at the beginning of a season, whether you have championship aspirations or not, that first win is so important. And it like gets like a weight off your shoulder. Like, no matter what your expectation for the season is, like getting that first win, like, means everything. And I think that's how we was feeling. And then we don't want to come back to the crib for our home opener feeling like trash because we went on the road and came back 0-2.
Right.
So that was definitely the energy in our locker room, was we need to tighten up and get this shit done. And I felt that from the people on the court to the people on the bench. It's great energy, and we're all very connected, and we're all very locked in. A lot of communication goes on amongst each other with the coaching staff during the game. Like, everyone is super engaged, and that's something that I really enjoy, especially for somebody, you know, trying to figure out their role on their team, where the minutes are going to come from. It's very important to stay engaged while these games are going on, because you really never know what's going to happen. And then that's also another reason why I love having this show, is I was going to be locked into these games, everybody's games and our games anyway. But like, now I'm at like another level of locked into what's going on. So not only am I going to be prepared for our games, like, I might be able to help with some scouting reports in the future, because I'm going to be watching everybody's games. But I love watching basketball, so like, that's not even a problem for me. But coming back 1-1, stealing one on the road, always very important. And yeah, I'm excited. This season is going to be really fun for us. Whether I play a lot, a little bit, like, I don't care. Like, I'm just really still very happy being in Seattle. And I feel, and most importantly, my health is good. So before anybody starts asking questions about, oh, is she not well? No, I'm fine. So it's a long season. We got 42 games left. So
Nah, stay ready,
Yeah.
Lexie. That there is never going to be a basketball game in which, or a basketball team or whatever, in which shooting is not necessary. And
Yeah.
that is something that you will always add. Promise you that. So
Mm-hmm.
just know, y'all, stay ready for Lexie Brown.
Stay ready. I'll be on the court soon, hopefully, guys. I promise.
No, I'm not worried about that, Lexie. I'm not worried about it at all. Skylar actually was saying that she feels like the Seattle team is the best team she's been on. And you spoke about this
Yeah.
when you guys were in training camp, that the team is so deep and there's so many ways that you can play with that roster and what the roles are. And as long as the communication is there with the coaching staff, with your teammates, I feel like everything works out.
Yeah, and we all know what our expectations are of each other, of ourselves, and you just have to be a professional. At the end of the day, this is our job, and you got to show up and just do what they ask you to do. And that's all I can do, and I'm happy to do it because this is my dream, and I'm doing what I love for a living. So that's enough of that. Before we go,
Yes. Let's talk about the team to watch that people might be sleeping on. Okay. A team to watch that people might be sleeping on, or maybe a game that you, Lexie, because now we're keeping up. Y'all, I have this is my first year really, obviously I kept up last year because I covered it with Hoops for Hotties, but with this, I happen to keep up with Lexie and her analysis has been so different. So what is a game that you're circling for next week?
our rematch against Phoenix, because they beat our ass. So rematch for the home opener for us. I'm looking forward to that game. And then definitely just wanting to see how the Sky bounce back from their game. I always like seeing teams, if they have a disappointing loss or something, how they respond. That shows a lot about a team, even though it's early. So I'm looking at our home opener on Friday and then the Sky's next game just to see how they bounce back from the game they had over the weekend, for sure.
I'm definitely interested to keep my eyes on Dallas just because we did this last year with Caitlin, in her first few games in the W, getting used to the physicality, defenses being focused on her, that sort of thing. And everybody's like, see, she's not going to be able to do the things she did in college in the W, which, it's not going to be the exact same. But I'm curious. I'm ready for Paige to have one of those Paige Buecker's games for the first time in the W.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really excited about that.
I mean, low key last night was one of them.
It was for sure. But
Yeah,
it wasn't a win.
Low key.
And so that kind of spoils it a little bit.
This is true. Yeah. I think, when she has one of them games, that's going to be a very exciting moment for women's basketball and for her. Did you see her dad crying during they were interviewing him during their first game, and he was like I already cried when she was warming up, and he almost cried on camera. It was the cutest thing I've ever seen.
Well, they're about to change her hometown's name to Paige Buecker's when she plays in Minnesota.
When they go play mini, that's gonna be probably a super special moment for her too.
Yeah, but I don't foresee it being the best game, no shade.
Hey, you never know. When is that game even? Oh,
it's coming up.
The next one.
Yeah, it's coming up.
Oh, it's their next game. Oh yeah. If Paige goes for 30, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
But again, this is another, they're a team that needs to get that monkey off their back.
Against the Lynx, 30?
Hey, everybody is a pro for a reason, Mariah.
That's
what can happen.
True, but the Lynx not playing with them. But
no, they're not. They're not.
Guys,
absolutely not.
We're getting away. We've been getting away from doing this a little bit throughout training camp and the preseason, just because, we've been talking for hours about every single team. So if you haven't seen those episodes, go watch them because they're still relevant, obviously, going into the early part of the WNBA season. But I want to get into giving away our flowers for this week, whether that's to your player of the week, Lexie, a coach, a person in your life, whatever the case may be. Who do you want to give your flowers to this week?
I'm giving my flowers this week to all of our Athletes Unlimited people that are on rosters this season. Currently, there are 15 Athletes Unlimited players that played in this past season that are on rosters right now, and 30 total former and current AU players in the WNBA right now. So I want to give my AU girls, former and current, their flowers, because this is not an easy league to make. And you spending a whole month with us in Athletes Unlimited is super special. You don't have to do it, and you're helping us build this organization and this brand. So I'm very appreciative to all of you, whether you played 1 year or you've been here since the beginning. You are greatly appreciated, and I'm very happy for everybody that is on a roster this summer because it's not easy.
And I want to give my flowers to, I feel like last season we had a lot of conversations, that's why we started the show, about the coverage of the league. And while it's not perfect, and there are definitely people out there covering it still a bit irresponsibly, in my opinion, there's a lot of people, specifically Black women. I was at the Liberty's home opener that I saw there covering it. And last night, there was a Black woman doing the sideline reporting at your game. And just so many people, new voices in the space, or voices that have been around that have been covering the game forever before it was necessarily cool or the hot button thing to do, that are really getting their flowers and their TV time. And they have podcasts where they speak about it in a positive way. I just wanted to shout out that, because I do want you guys to know, don't get bogged down if you see any sort of quote unquote negative coverage of the W, because there are places like this, or there are shows that are covering it, or there are broadcasts you can watch that don't feel like that do want to push the game forward and are very positive. And so they're out there. I want y'all to tune into them so that we can get them to those high places. So they're the voices that we're paying more attention to and talking about the most. But
absolutely.
A lot of beautiful Black woman, female faces covering the league this year. And so I wanted to shout them out.
There are. Shout out to y'all. We appreciate y'all, and continuing to uplifting this league and having mature basketball conversations is what we need to focus on, and not get, like you said, bogged down in all the other negativity that seems to be the most prevalent things on earth. Because we promise y'all, there are people out there that are covering women's basketball the way it's supposed to be covered. So we're going to try our best to keep this place as positive and uplifting as we can, and then shed light on other platforms that are doing the same. So I'm really excited for this season. Week 1 down, even though it felt like it was a month long. It's only been a few days.
Listen, y'all, it's week 1 of the WNBA season. Keep it cute, okay?
Keep it cute, because that's what we're going to do here, okay?
Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Full Circle. Make sure you tune in to Lexie's home opener.
Woo! On ION Friday night. See y'all there.
Bye, y'all.